of friendship and appeal to our brothers in the NDC to come back to the consensus table and let us together do what we know to be right for Ghana.
They have attacked the party, accusing the NDC of deceit.
What the NDC displayed last Tuesday was nothing else but an unpatriotic betrayal of the Ghanaian people. Dishonesty, deceit, indecision, lack of conduct and integrity.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready, and Antarte Furniture, designed for life. Well, tell you what, it's not often that in our bitterly divided political landscape, you find a political party, a gathering one of that, reaching out to the main opposition party. Now, the governing New Patriotic Party is tonight doing exactly that. He's reaching out to the main NDC, the opposition party, with a passionate appeal. Join us in the national interest and rescind your decision to campaign for a no vote in the December referendum. The MPP also, at a news conference a short while ago, indicated its readiness to dialogue with the NDC to address the concerns they have on the issue. The 17th December referendum will ask Ghanaians to vote yes or no on whether or not political parties should be allowed to participate in local assembly elections. The NDC just last week declared it will be campaigning for a no vote, a position that appears to have taken both the government and the MPP by surprise. Well, with just 28 days to go before that historic referendum, the MPP is issuing this passionate appeal to their NDC colleagues. Listen to John Wedu, who is the General Secretary of the NPP.
This is the consensus case for a yes. The New Patriotic Party will, nonetheless, still stretch a hand of friendship and appeal to our members or our brothers in the NDC, the second largest political party in Ghana, to come back to the consensus table and let us together do what we know to be right for Ghana. We will appeal to the NDC to put the national interest first. The NPP is fully behind the president's program and the people's desire to democratize local governance and enhance accountability at that level. We are also happy to hear that the government intends to continue engaging the NDC and other stakeholders to get this important exercise of strengthening governance at the grassroots fully back on track. Government is still not relenting its effort in engaging the leadership of the NDC, irrespective of their U-turn. But because they can turn, I believe that they can turn again. We also call on all patriotic citizens, including followers of NDC and other parties, to do what we all know to be right and support the Yes campaign. We call on all other institutional stakeholders to also reach out to the NDC, particularly the presidential candidate and his party's leadership, to come back and support a yes vote. To reinforce that this is not just an MPP agenda, but a national agenda.
Well, John Boyri also accuses the NDC of being unpatriotic in the way they have, he claims, have shifted their position from a yes to a no.
Indeed, and in fact, until the announcement last Tuesday, the NDC had all this while been cooperating constructively with the government in Parliament and elsewhere. The NPP, the Electoral Commission, other political parties, faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, and all other stakeholders for the success of the referendum in returning in an emphatic yes verdict. This they have done throughout the many engagements, conferences, symposiums that have been held on the referendum involving all major political parties in this country. That is why all the political parties, civil society groups, the media and the general public all appear surprised, confused and even hoodwinked by the NDC abrupt U-turn last Tuesday. What the NDC displayed last Tuesday was nothing else but an unpatriotic betrayal of the Ghanaian people. Such a naked show of dishonesty, deceit, indecision, lack of conduct and integrity from the biggest opposition party in the country projects a perception that the NDC will sacrifice the national interest at the altar of rather where chief political points are to be scored.
I'm joined on the telephone line right now by the General Secretary of the NPP, Mr. John Boadu. Hello, Mr. Boadu.
Yeah, hello.
Thank you very much for joining me here on Top Story. Also joining me tonight is the Director of Elections for the main opposition National Democratic Congress. He also used to be a former local government minister himself, Elvis Ifri Ankra. Ms. Ankra, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Good evening, Deputy Local Government.
Oh, Deputy Local Government, my apologies there. Let me start with you. The NPP at the press conference today extends a hand to you, says you're appealing that you rescind your decision to campaign for no in the referendum and return to your original position. What's your reaction to that, I guess, reaching out to you?
I find it very curious. On one hand, we are unpatriotic. They use all kinds of words on us, but more importantly to the issue at hand. First of all, it is important to understand that every party has structures and institutions with which it works. When this whole referendum issue came up, the way it was crafted, in fact, to most of us, so recently that we had the opportunity to do a very critical analysis, it was made to appear that we're going to vote for people at the local government level. And this is something which has been in our manifesto, our 2016 manifesto, so we didn't have any problem with it. But upon critical examination, we realized that there were very germane issues. And these issues were raised at the Functional Executive Committee. Subsequently, a committee was put into place with people like Professor Hoy, the former Attorney General, former Speaker of Parliament, and they looked at all the issues, presented a paper, and the issues were discussed exhaustively at the National Executive Committee meeting, which is the highest decision-making body of the party apart from Congress. And after exhaustive deliberations, we took a position. Now we have put before the NPP very serious legal, administrative, political, security issues that will come out if there's a yes vote. And indeed, Professor Hoy likened it to a Brexit that was not thought through properly, and then people went to vote without understanding the issues, the implications, and the ramifications, and they went and voted. See, even Great Britain, where they are today. So we have put forth a lot of issues, so many issues, legal issues, technical issues, challenges. I was expecting that the NPP would come and respond to these issues.
To be fair, I mean, today they attempted to deal with some of the issues, but of course, for the purposes of broadcast, we can't bring all of them. But let me ask you though, the fundamental concern that they raised at this press conference is that this has not been your position all along. In fact, the NPP asserts that the NDC, as articulated by John Sassoon Ketia in previous meetings and fora, is that you were in for a yes vote. When did you change your mind?
And I've told you that the way it was packaged, made it appear as if we're going to vote the way that we had also proposed in our manifesto, that we're going to allow voting for metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives.
On partisan lines?
No, that is not in our manifesto. And you see, that is one of the deceptions that they are pandering all over the place. In our manifesto, we never, ever propose voting for MMDCs on partisan basis. We propose voting for them, universal adult suffrage, but not on partisan basis.
You never proposed the having of a multi-party election in local assemblies?
Absolutely not.
So how come then on October 2nd, 2019,
It's
at
October
an,
12th.
October, so, okay, well, at an event organized by IDEC, and IDEC has been leading this for years. Joseph Sedun Kete, on the speech read on behalf by the youth organizer, deputy says that this is one of the topics that both the NDC and the MPP seem to be in agreement. So I will not want to, and then there are giggles, will not want to talk too much about the advantages of having a multi-party election at the local assemblies.
Good. So first of all, let me break the issues down. First of all, in our manifesto, which states our policy proposal for the 2016 elections, we never, ever canvassed that we're going to have partisan elections at the local.
So Johnson Sedun Kete was misrepresenting the party position.
You asked the question, let me answer.
Okay.
As I've said, there's been many fora, many discussions, and people have expressed different views. In fact, I was almost going to have a forum together with the MPP's director of elections. And then we started raising critical issues. We started asking questions that this proposal that they are making, what are the implications? What are the ramifications for security? So you have a situation where in Ashanti region, you have all MPP, assuming NDC comes back to power 2021, which we believe will come back to power, and then the president is going to Kumasi to go and visit. Who is going to be in charge of his security? We've asked very critical issues. Those issues then got us to the point where we said, no, let's put a team together of experts, legal experts, local government experts, and then they came and briefed the National Executive Committee. Till then, there had not been any meeting of the National Executive Committee. So those were views that were being expressed. Everybody expresses his view. People think that, okay, this is good for us. But I'm saying that officially, after examining the issues critically, then the National Executive Committee, which is the highest decision-making body of the party, apart from Congress, looked at the issues, looked at the ramifications, and then took a position. So if even somebody else, even the flag bearer, had taken any position, all those positions have been overruled by the position of the National Executive Committee, having examined the ramifications and the challenges and all the issues that would arise. And I'm saying that one was expecting that these germane issues that were raised, the MPP would at least, as they were calling for us to say they are stretching the hand of friendship on one hand and insulting us on the other, they would have responded to these germane issues. They have not responded to it.
Allow me to bring in your friend and colleague from the other side, John Boydu. Mr. Boydu, that is the explanation. How the switching that, from what I'm hearing, Asiodun Kete's previous position and now what it says is the official party position after careful consideration. That is the explanation he's given for it.
That is the major problem that we have at hand there, because you know that processes for amending a constitution, whether entrenched or non-entrenched articles,
Can John
time
speak up a little bit,
limits
please?
and time constraints. So,
Hello?
for instance, this process that was started as far back as 2017, of which former presidents, which include two former presidents of the NDC, the leadership of all political parties, general secretaries met the president. We were taken through, and this was specifically mentioned. We made before Parliament Article 2431. We've had extensive discussion about it. The only challenge that the NDC at that time, irrespective of their leadership, pontificating and making it clear that there's no dispute at all with regards to the election of MMBC assembly members union committee on partisan basis. They think that it is even the foundation for which election of MMBC should be elected. All these things till July, and even as late as last 2 weeks, when parliamentary leadership of both parties met, they all agreed that for 55-3, it hasn't been an issue at all because all of us agree. For 24-1, that they think that there should have been comprehensive, consequential amendment of other clauses that are likely to be affected as a result of repeal or 55-3 going. And we've given them assurances upon assurances because most of these issues they are raising now, assuming we want to even comply with what they are saying, it will take additional minimum 3 months, 10 days, meaning that we can't even be able to amend the 2431 before the referendum. If that is what their position is, that should have been the case, so that we all know that because they are insisting that we need to do the consequential amendment before or after the referendum, then we know that these are our position. We know right from day one that there's no way even amendment of any other clauses apart from those entrenched clauses can even be done without a consensus. Well, we don't even have the two-thirds majority. And framers of the Constitution at that time felt that these are fundamental issues that radically move our local governance system. So we should not go in on the basis of partisanship. We should go in on the basis of consensus building, so that if you get the 40%, you should be able to get 75% of the turnout. You see, so it came to us as a shock to hear from the NDC having done all these discussions. We met at IDEB, we met at Catholic Bishops Conference, everywhere we 55-3 is not an issue at all. To the extent that the last communicator, the both minority and majority met, was even put together a joint campaign team to canvass for a yes vote. The only issue they had was the comprehensive nature of the consequential amendment, of which we've made overtures. We've gone too far to agree with them. So it takes us as a shock, and I want to believe that those held-on adage of political party being the basis for division at the polling station level, at the local level, is something that is archaic, it's long discarded. Because with the implementation or the adoption of the Constitution from 1992 today, all political parties have their structures on the ground. All political parties have their executives at the polling station level. We've been discussing, we've been arguing on the ground. We do things together. We go to communal labor together. We go to church. We are even intermarrying ourselves. So we move towards that. It's a tendency of coupists. People who think that multi-party democracy will divide because they want to hold on to power. I want to know from them, where in the world do you have such hybrid and hypocritical system where all of us are aware that assembly members are voted with the sponsorship of our various political parties? All of it. Look at the posters around. You see green, red, white, then the person is an MP.
Let me.
Red. I think that I don't think it is too late. I think that we can still, government even is initiating processes of still meeting stakeholders in federal,
including the NDC. You're so ready to
including the
NDC. Let me bring in the let me bring in Elvis. Elvis Afriankra, is the NDC still open to meeting the government and the MPP on this matter before December 17th?
Okay, let me refer you to parts of our press statement so that you'll be very clear on our position. We have stated clearly, and I'm reading the last paragraph, and here is the chairman said, finally, let me reiterate the position of the NDC that the election of MMDC is viable and doable. The relevant constitutional provision is not an entrenched clause, so Parliament can amend it with two-thirds majority without necessarily turning the local government system into a hotbed of partisan conflict. Let me go up further, and we state again, and since let me just summarize it or paraphrase it. we're saying that if, okay, the Constitution Amendment Bill has many ramifications for the smooth, effective, and harmonious administration of the Metropolitan and District Assembly. It has to be thought through very well. Unfortunately, the bill as it is now is fatally flawed and cannot form the basis for the referendum to amend Article 55.3. It must be withdrawn, but, and listen, but, if the government insists on making the assemblies partisan, then a new bill must be drafted, re-gazetted, and subjected to serious scrutiny by Ghanaians. Unlike the surreptitious manner it has gone about the current bill, it will also mean that a 6-month period required by the Constitution for the bill to be gazetted will begin to run anew. So I've said that this is on the basis of the fact that we raise fundamental legal issues between the Assembly and the unit committees. We haven't defined that. Governors, the role of regional coordinating councils, operational issues, the issue of monetization. These are very, very germane issues.
They are germane, but the fundamental question that MPP is asking is, why are you raising it with less than 30 days to the election?
It could have even been 24 hours.
When in October, you were for yes.
Evans, it's like saying I'm going on a particular path, and I do a reflection, and I realize that the path I'm going, based on the information I had, I need to take a second look at it and say, okay, because I've gone halfway or three-quarter way, I should continue to go to the end. When I can see clearly that there's danger ahead of me. Does it make sense to you?
MPP suggests there is a political motive for that decision at this time. In fact, they say you are unpatriotic.
Why are they not dealing with the issues? We've raised germane issues. Even last week, your station spent time talking about monetization of policies. Did you not?
Yes.
So all those bad habits that we have acquired at the national level, we want to transpose them to the local level as well. Somebody should give me an answer.
What about the counter argument the MPP has raised today in dealing with that germane issue, that the emphasis and the benefit of dealing with the winner takes all challenge, it far outweighs the concerns you have about over politicization at the local assembly? And they say everywhere in the world at that local level there are parties participating in there, and in Ghana the focus should be on dealing with the winner takes all, which leads to the acrimony and the violence, because everybody else is priced out or excluded, with the exception of the one who wins the elections.
Again, that is a misinformation and falsehood. Okay, the United States of America that we cite, my readings show me that out of their 50-something states, 30 states hold district elections on non-partisan basis. 30. So what are we talking about? In any case, why don't we fashion something that takes care of our peculiar political and sociocultural, dynamics? Why should we copy blindly?
Let me ask
we know how elections are in this country, partisan elections. I am also West Wogon. We haven't even recovered. And you want to take this down to the district level, and you don't want us to examine the issues. You don't want us to, we've asked questions, and nobody wants to provide answers. You should just browbeat over them and just go ahead because we have gone far ahead. No, we don't build a country like that.
Two quick questions. One, and the MPP says they are ready to meet you. They will still want to sit and talk and hope to still build a consensus around this. Is the NDC willing to at least sit and talk?
I'm not the NDC. I'm just some small guy, some small corner.
Knowing what you know in the circles of discussion.
If you look at the tone of our press conference, we are very open.
Okay.
But we stated the issues that we want addressed, and we hope that if they want to meet us, then they should be prepared to for us to talk about those issues, and then we take it from there.
Okay.
But they should also be asking for a consensus on one hand, and then also questioning our integrity on the other hand. Please. We are very, very knowledgeable people who fashion out this entire local government system, people who have depth of knowledge, former speakers, former attorney generals and all that. We are all local government practitioners.
And
the fact that we have a different perspective does not give them the right to hurl invectives as that. That's totally unacceptable.
And second, knowing what you know with the party and the discussions that have gone on before the press statement, is it possible to accede to the NPP's request for you to rescind your decision? Is there an appetite in the NDC for that to happen?
Please, Evans.
Yeah.
I have many skills, but being a prophet is not one of them. What I know is that the party met all the 16 regions. The issues were debated exhaustively. We had a paper. It was looked at from various dimensions, and the party took a position. If going forward, and we've stated the conditions and the reasons why we would take a second look at it, and we've put it all there. So if the NDC, it's the ball is in the court of the MPP. If they take those steps and the party meets, we'll look at the issues and we'll decide. But I think it will be preemptive for me to sit here and say the party will take this decision or that decision.
John
Our
Boydu,
position is very, very clear.
okay, John Boydu, the ball is in your court. The position is clear, which is an emphatic no in the December 17 elections. And it appears, yeah, they are ready to meet you.
Unless they would accede to those demands that we have put out, those issues, germane issues that we've raised.
John Boydu, that's
and I think it's very clear in our press conference.
That's the answer to you. What's your reaction
I
to it?
think that our points of departure and disappointment
Can
of
John
the
Boydu
NDC
speak a little
decision
louder,
is the
please?
fact
I
that
can't hear you.
in acceding to their
Hello,
request,
Ivan.
which we are not against, is that what it means that we must withdraw the 2431 before Parliament, draw up a comprehensive program or comprehensive consequential bill for amendments, don't go for the 17th December referendum and wait till after February or April. I'm saying that if you are a political party having participated in this process over years, and it is not yesterday or 3 months ago that we initiated this process. This process has been initiated right from 2017, of which the leadership of the NDC, right from the top to the last person, has been involved. If you wait till Electoral Commission committing resources, you wait for NCC doing the government providing resources for them, CSOs and all other institutions committing their resources in preparation towards this referendum, and you wait, knowing very well that there are time constraints. Even if we are to accede and allow his experts that he's talking about to put together a comprehensive consequential amendment, what it means is that the 17th December that we've all agreed with them to vote for yes, there's no way we can have that.
It's very clear that without them, you cannot achieve a
without
yes.
even them, we cannot even pass the first amendment in Parliament. 2431. I think that this is unfortunate. This is not good for this country, and I think that the position of the NDC has been very, very, very bad politics for our country, and I don't think that, but like you said, and he has agreed, we still believe that they can turn around just as they've turned, for us to also look at it once again and agree. If we are say that the bill before Parliament, because we want to have it in a comprehensive way and look at all other aspects that would be triggered as a result of the amendment of 55.3, and that we should all go in and amend 55.3 as a referendum by massively voting yes for it. We will still want to go and make sure, because when we vote in December 17th, we are not voting for election of MMD3. The election of MMD will come 2 years after.
And that is a key clarity, I guess, that started this particular leg of the confusion. I'm grateful that you joined us, John Boydu, the General Secretary of the MPP. And the last point was making there, remember, the December 17 referendum is not about